Hello, Wolves. This is Mrs. Ellingford with your weekly assignment video. We only have two required assignments this week. One of them is our weekly quick writes that we have on Google or on No Writing. And then we also have a new assignment that is going to be a Go Formative instead of doing something via Google Docs like we normally do. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start with our personal reflection from No Writing first. So for a personal reflection this week, what are you thinking, feeling, and doing in response to the COVID-19 outbreak? Write a stream of consciousness paragraph to try and capture what's on your mind right now. Now, if you take a look below, for those of you who aren't sure, okay, stream of consciousness is under the focus point for this week. This is a writing technique that we haven't gone over in class before, but it's pretty simple, okay? So it's just a type of writing where the writer's thoughts and feelings flow continuously without stopping for description or dialogue. So this means that the narrator is just kind of talking about their feelings, talking about how they're feeling, those types of things, as opposed to maybe focusing on events or things that came across that week. Okay, so this is just kind of like an emotional check-in for this week. This technique is usually used for brainstorming and journaling, and that's why we're using it this week, because it's the best technique for just kind of talking about how you're feeling and how you're doing. Maybe something that happened that made you feel a certain way and those types of things. Okay. A lot of you guys have been doing a good job of doing those COVID-19 reflections. The only thing that I would say is some of you haven't been quite getting to the 150 word limit. So I would just make sure that you're writing until this little bar up here is green. And then obviously it's going to allow you to submit your writing. But if you don't write to the full extent of the 150 words, then you don't have enough to be able to submit your writing. Okay, that's the first thing that we're doing, is something that we've done every week, so that shouldn't be too new to you folks. The one thing that will be new is the Go Formative. Okay, so we are actually going to be writing a narrative or a short story using the hero's journey cycle to kind of help us. Okay, so if you take a look, the Go Formative not only has a plan for you, excuse me, not only has a plan for you, but it also has an example plan that I filled out for my example short story. Okay. Now, the narrative can be anything that you want it to be. It can be fantasy. It can be sci-fi. It can be about anything that you would like it to be. My only requirement is that it follows the hero's journey cycle. So if you take a look at mine is more of like fantasy based, but if you want yours to be more realistic, maybe sci-fi, maybe scary stories can follow hero's journey as well, then that's up to you. Okay, you just have to make sure that it follows these steps. So if you take a look at my example that I have in the Go Formative to help you, okay, I obviously start with my hero's name. I went with Ishka. It's Irish Gaelic for water. And then if you take a look, this kind of ties into my overall story because Ishka is a sailor. So Ishka starts her journey on board her mother's ship. Her mother is a captain in the Royal Navy. Okay, that's her ordinary world. And then obviously her call to adventure is when something changes and then she's kind of forced into this position to go on an adventure on her own. So Ishka's ship is attacked. She must save her crew and mother who have been taken captive. And then finally, that entering the unknown, it doesn't have to be a fantasy world every time. It could just be someplace that is unfamiliar to the hero. So in this case, Ishka must rely on herself on a deserted island. She wakes up on a beach in an unfamiliar place. Okay, so Ishka was shipwrecked after her ship is attacked and her mother and crew have been taken captive by pirates. And so now she must go on this journey to try and save them. Okay, so like if you take a look, there's questions here to kind of guide you and help you along as you fill out each step. And you don't have to do all 12 steps of the hero's journey. I'm only requiring you to do 7. Okay, so if you take a look, this is my example, and then you're going to be filling out this on your own. Okay, so if you take a look, if you click on one of the numbers, it'll take you directly to that question. Okay, so that first one, you're just telling me what is your hero's name and then trying to provide a brief description of them as well. I did not have room to do that in mine, but you should have plenty of room to do that in that text box for yours. Okay. And then you're just going to go through each of the steps of the hero's journey and then answer that question. So the ordinary world, where does your hero begin their journey? Then question 4, entering the unknown. What a new world does your hero enter? Those types of things. Okay. So this is going to be your plan for that narrative. And then we're going to start writing our draft next week. Okay. So those are the only 2 things that we have this week. I kind of wanted to, I know based upon that, go Google form that I had some of you guys fill out last week. I know some of you were wanting a little bit of a lighter load. So I decided to just go ahead and give you a lighter load this week because the plan and writing your own short story is going to take a little bit more creative time and energy. Okay. So that's why we're not going to be doing any additional grammar practices this week, because I think it's more important for us to work on those like actual writing skills. Okay. Now the extension is going to be the same one for last week. So last week we did the hero's journey poster. I went ahead and I'm giving you an extra week to complete this if you want the extra credit points or house points. Okay, so just keep that in mind. The extension is the same. So if you get these 2 things done and you still haven't finished the extension, then that's something you can do with your extra time. Okay. If you guys need any help, then don't forget to call, text, or email me. I will say that those of you who've been using text message, you'll probably notice that I get back to you a lot faster than maybe if you email me. So if it's something that you need help with right away, texting me is probably the fastest way to get a hold of me during the week. Otherwise, you can always email me. But like I said, texting is probably the fastest. Okay. So anyway, I hope you have a good week. You guys have a great week. See ya.